This is chapter 9F, where we will be comparing theoretical and experimental probability. So this chapter is really essentially wrapping up most of chapter 9, and we're really comparing theory and experiment. So do this. Take out a coin, make a prediction in percentage of how many times it will land on heads and tails. Then I want you to flip the coin 20 times and record your results. From there, calculate the percentage of heads and tails actually received. Then compare your results to your theory, your prediction. Tell me, what happened? So at this time, pause and do this little exercise. So maybe if you did this and you flipped your coin 20 times, you might have gotten something like this. Now everyone might have something a bit different. Maybe you flipped your coin and you received heads 5 times and you received tails 3 times, and then you got a heads, and then you got another tails, and so forth until you receive 20. So maybe you have something that looks like this. So you received heads here 11 out of 20 times. You receive tails here maybe 9 out of 20 times. Then you have to convert this into a percentage. In this case, you can use your calculator or simply just multiply this whole thing by 5 because I need 100, and this makes 55%, and this will make 45%. And maybe yours is even more different. Maybe it's literally 30 and 70. But think about what happened, and is it close to your results? Is it close to your thinking? Is it close to your prediction? If it is, well, that means theory matches experiment. However, something to think about is that when we do something for 20 times, it's not necessarily enough. Sometimes you might have to do it 100 times. So if you want to do this experiment again, you can go ahead and flip your coin 100 times and record your data and see what happens. But of course, do that in your own time. Let's look at some problems from the book. A fairground game uses a 4-sided spinner. In one evening, the game is played 150 times. Calculate the experimental probability from the results, so that's the key word, in the table, and compare these to theoretical probabilities. Comment on your results. Okay, so if you know what to do, pause. If you're not sure what to do, follow along. So first of all, let's make a prediction. Let's make a theory. So I noticed that the scores land on 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a 4-sided spinner where it lands on 1, 2, 3, or 4. And you have this spinner that's just spinning around and landing on these numbers. So each number, in theory, they all have a 25% or 1 in 4 chance of being hit. Now, let's look at our experiment and see what actually happened. So in the first one, 32 out of 150 for the number 1. That is 21%. The next one is 43 out of 150, which is approximately 29%. And then for 3, it was 35 out of 150, which is 27%. And then the last one, 40 out of 150, is approximately 27%. So comparing 21, 29, 27, 27, oops, my mistake. This top one is not 27%, oops. This one should be 23%. Now let's compare 21, 27, 29, 23, 27. Are they all close to 25%? You'd say yes. So basically, our theory matches what actually happened in our experiment. Sometimes it doesn't always happen this way, of course, based on luck, based on chance. That's how probability works. One more example. George thinks that the same game at a different fairground might be biased. Bias basically means it's more catered to one side. He records these results from 150 trials. One, he had a 60 out of 150. He had a 30 out of 150. He had a 25 out of 150. And he had a 35 out of 150. Is the game biased? If you know what to do, pause. Otherwise, follow along. So 60 out of 150 is 40%. 30 out of 150 is 20%. 25 out of 150 is approximately 17%. And 35 out of 150 is approximately 23%. So would you say that compared to the previous results, and I'll show you those again, was this game at a different fairground biased? Well, I would say so, because it looks like it favors the one more at 40%, given that in theory everything should be landing at close to 25%, right? So yes, it is biased. And that's it.